I didn't even flinch when my mother-in-law barged into our living room with a notary. A smug little smirk painted across her powdered face like she just won the damn lottery. Because I knew something she didn't. Something that wiped that grin clean off her face the second she saw the deed. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Elena. I'm 31 now, but this story started when I was 28. Freshly married, still clinging to the naive hope that love and loyalty were enough to protect you from the darkest parts of people. I married Nate after 4 years of dating. He was charming, ambitious, and, at least to the outside world, completely in love with me. We met at a tech startup. I was in design, he was in business development. It was the classic office romance. We stayed late together, worked on pitches, got drinks after demos. At first, I felt like I was dating someone on my level. Sharp, passionate, a little intense. I liked that. But the red flags came early. Nate didn't talk much about his family at first. Only vague mentions of being an only child and how his mom had very high standards. He said it like a joke, but the way his jaw clenched told me otherwise. I wouldn't meet his mother until a year in. And I wish I never had. Her name was Veronica, but everyone just called her V. She had this cold, calculated way of speaking, like she was always measuring how much someone was worth to her before she decided how to treat them. At our first dinner, she asked me 3 times what my parents did for a living, and not once did she ask about me. She offered me wine, then commented that red could stain your teeth if you didn't watch your hygiene. That's the kind of woman she was. I brushed it off. Everyone has difficult in-laws, right? Besides, I had my own secrets, and one of them was big. When I was 25, my grandmother passed away. She had helped raise me after my father left, and we were closer than anyone else in the world. Quietly, privately, she left me everything she had, including 3 rental apartments she'd invested in during her working years. They weren't fancy penthouses, but they were all paid off and brought in steady monthly rent. She told me not to tell anyone, not even my mother. "Keep this between us," she whispered in the hospice bed, her hand in mine. "You'll know when the time is right." I honored her wish. So when Nate and I got engaged, and he started talking about finances, I nodded and smiled and let him believe I was just another middle-class girl with student loans and no savings. We both had decent jobs. He didn't question it. Not once. And I didn't lie. I just didn't tell him the whole truth. We had a beautiful wedding. Small, tasteful, mostly friends and co-workers. Nate's mother tried to take over the planning at first, pushing for a cathedral venue and crystal centerpieces. Things that screamed, "Look at us," even though she wasn't offering to pay for any of it. When I insisted on keeping it simple, she told Nate I was low class. He didn't defend me. He just asked me to try to get along. It was the first time I felt something inside me crack. But I still went through with it. I still said I do. 'Cause I believed he loved me. 'Cause I believed we could be a team no matter what. We moved into a modest condo and started talking about buying a house one day. I nodded along, thinking about the rent money I was collecting each month behind the scenes. I didn't touch it. I just let it accumulate in a separate bank account, like a nest egg I wasn't ready to hatch yet. But Veronica, she had other plans. Started with little questions. When are you two buying a place? Have you looked into Nate's inheritance yet? Are you getting a prenup redone? You never know with women these days. I ignored it. I told myself she was just a controlling mother. She'd eventually get bored. But then one afternoon I came home early from work and found her in our kitchen, going through our mail. "Nate gave me a key," she said casually, as if that excused it. I told Nate that night to get the key back. He said I was overreacting, so I changed the locks the next day. That's when things escalated. She stopped pretending to like me. She'd come to dinner and criticize my cooking. She'd leave articles about fertility or how to make your man feel powerful on our coffee table. She even told Nate, loudly in front of me, that she hoped I'd quit my job and start focusing on the home. I never said a word about the apartments, but I started to feel it, like she knew I was hiding something. Or maybe she just sensed she didn't have full control over me yet. The way she hated it. Act 4. The plot. A week after our 1-year anniversary, I came home from work to find Veronica on our couch again. This time she wasn't alone. A man in a cheap suit was sitting next to her. Briefcase, clipboard, the whole deal. He looked uncomfortable, like even he wasn't totally clear on why he was there. "Hello, Elena," Veronica said, smiling like a cat who'd cornered a mouse. "This is Mr. Langston. He's a notary public. We're just going to go over a few quick documents. Nothing complicated." I stared at her. Then I looked at Nate, who was standing behind them, silent, looking everywhere except at me. That's when I knew. They thought they had me. I didn't sit down. I just looked at Nate, then back at Veronica. Her smile stretched wider. "I know this is a bit sudden," she said sweetly, "but we thought it best to put things in writing, now that we're family and all. You know, just to protect everyone." Mr. Langston opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick packet of paper. I raised my eyebrows. "Protect who from what?" "Oh, come now," she said, with a chuckle that sounded like a snake hissing. "You're a smart girl. You married into a well-off family. You're living in our condo, spending our money. The least you could do is formalize that your little assets, whatever they are part of the family trust." There it was. She didn't know what I had. But she was fishing. And Nate, he'd let her. I turned to him. He still couldn't look at me. "It's just paperwork," he muttered. "She said it's standard stuff." "But, okay," I said calmly. "Let me just go grab something." Veronica's smile faltered for the first time. I went into the bedroom. I closed the door quietly, then walked straight to the floorboard beneath the closet. I had stashed a fireproof envelope there a year earlier, after our honeymoon. Inside it was everything. The original will from my grandmother, the deeds to all 3 apartments, and a notarized statement from the lawyer who oversaw the transfer, signed, sealed, and filed with the state. I'd even had a backup set of digital copies emailed to a separate legal account I created under my maiden name, just in case. I walked back into the living room with the envelope and placed it on the table. "I assume you want to review assets," said. "Great. Here are mine." Veronica looked confused. Mr. Langston perked up. 3 fully owned rental apartments in the West Heights district, I said, flipping through the papers slowly. Approximate combined value. Just over $1.4 million. Monthly rental income. About $6,200. All acquired via legal inheritance. Years before I met Nate. I let the words sink in. Then I looked her dead in the eye. "And none of it is in my married name." Silence. Awkward. Silence. Her lips parted. Her face twitched. Mr. Langston looked like he wanted to crawl into his own briefcase. What do you mean not in your married name?" she finally spat. "I mean," I said, "my legal identity for these assets is under my maiden name. They are not marital property. They are not part of a joint trust. And any attempt to claim them without my consent is fraud." Veronica opened her mouth, then closed it. Her smirk was gone. Gone like the color in her face. I looked at Nate, who had finally met my gaze. He didn't look angry. He looked panicked. "You knew about this?" he asked, his voice cracking. I tilted my head. "No, I didn't tell you. And I'm glad I didn't." Then I turned to Mr. Langston. "If this man is a real notary, he's dangerously close to being complicit in an attempted fraudulent claim. I suggest he leave. Immediately." He practically ran. The door slammed. Veronica's voice dropped several octaves. "How dare you humiliate me like that?" "Funny," I said. "I was about to ask you the same thing." He tried to regroup. "You're in our family now. Everything you have should be." "No," I snapped. "I married Nate, not you. And even if I had shared this with him, what gives you the right to waltz in here with some half-baked legal ambush? What were you hoping to do? Trick me into signing over my inheritance?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. She stormed out. Nate didn't follow her. He just stood there defeated. Not ashamed, just exposed. You let her do this, I said quietly. You let your mother treat me like property. Did you even try to stop her? I thought maybe we could use the money, he whispered. And there it was. That ugly truth. It wasn't just her. He was in on it. I didn't scream. I packed a suitcase the next day and left. I stayed at one of the apartments for a few nights, changed all the locks, hired a lawyer, and filed for divorce. He tried to call, tried to explain, said it was just a bad idea, a stupid moment, that he wasn't thinking straight. But I was done. You don't recover from betrayal like that. Not when the man you married lets his mother weaponize the law to take what's yours. I didn't even ask for alimony. I let him keep the condo. It wasn't worth fighting over. I had bigger plans. I started renovating the 3 apartments, using the rent income to upgrade the interiors, increase the value. Within a year, I had them rented at double the previous rates. Then I started a side business, luxury short-term rentals for corporate clients. By the end of year 2, I was making triple what Nate had ever earned. 2 years later, I saw Veronica again. It was at a real estate conference in the city. I had been invited to speak on a panel about generational wealth and female ownership. I spotted her near the refreshments table. She didn't notice me at first. When she finally did, her face contorted. It was like watching someone swallow a lemon whole. She walked over and said, "I heard you've become quite the businesswoman." Smiled. "I suppose I have." "And Nate?" she asked. "You speak to him?" "No. Haven't in over a year. I believe he moved back in with you." Her face twitched. I already knew the answer. He'd burned through his savings, lost his job in the market crash, started drinking again. He was living in her basement. Poetic, really. "You were always a cold girl," she muttered. "And you were always a petty thief in pearls," I said. She left without another word. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had told Nate about the apartments from the start. Maybe things would have turned out differently. But then I remember that day. That smirk on her face when she came in with a notary, ready to steal what wasn't hers. The silence from the man I loved. And I realize, some things are better kept secret. Because the truth is a weapon. And I'm glad I was the one holding it.